Alright, listen man, we're going to ask the question, is white okay now? Listen, I'm still down with the sickness here, but that's the bad news. The good news is that I beat the Liza P, but that's also bad news, because now I have nothing to play, brother. But that's alright, because I'll do a dang video about how I've seen the color white shift and change since I started playing Commander in 2013. Yeah man, back then Boros was in really rough shape. You had to rely on artifacts for ramp and card draw, it just wasn't in the color pie back then. Red had some wheels, which was fine, but there were very few very good wheels, so you needed to supplement with card draw artifacts like Mind's Eye, which kind of suck in today's powerful meta. And listen man, treasures did not exist back then either. There was no tithe, brother. You had to ramp with little mana rocks, which was a fine strategy. It exists even to this day, but is more subject to removal than land ramp, right? People get real salty if you blow up their lands, even though there are a few really good mass land destruction spells in white. Honestly, unless you build your deck to win the turn you do that, it just drags out the game while you try to take out your opponents with whatever board state you built up. It's tedious. You know, it's valid, but it's tedious. So let's take a look at some under the radar, recently printed or recently spoiled commander cards that have helped shore up the color's weaknesses. We're talking about draw, we're talking about ramp, we're talking about interaction on the stack, and see if they deserve a slot in your commander decks. Listen man, some of these are mediocre, you know, but they're interesting and bear talking about. But first listen, take a moment, subscribe to the channel. This isn't your average commander channel, brother. It's significantly below average, but at least it's original and fun to listen to when I don't have the flu. I'm only going back about 2 years to see what's happened recently in white cards. So there are obviously some cards that won't be in this video, brother. I can't make 3-hour videos talking about every card that's ever come out. Look at this beautiful lady. You got the Fireman Commando out there, 3 and a white for a creature, Angel Soldier. It's a 4/3 with flying. Whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures, draw a card. Whenever another player attacks with 2 or more creatures, they draw a card if none of those creatures attacked you. What are you doing in a white deck? You know what I mean? In an angel deck or whatever. If you aren't attacking with 2 or more creatures, I don't know what the heck you're doing, man. Nothing more terrifying than an angry redhead, brother. This does let your opponents draw cards, but keeps that aggression off your tail. Alright, this thing just got spoiled, but it's a Ramus Ecore, the Ancient Shield. I don't know what the heck I'm supposed to say, dude. Did I mispronounce that? I don't care. 3 and a white for a legendary artifact. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, draw a card. Then create a 0/3 white wall creature token with Defender. At the beginning of combat on your turn, creatures you control with Defender gain Exalted until end of turn. This is going to be in the Lord of the Rings Holiday expansion. It's flavorful, it's interesting, it's a consistent source of draw in a Voltron deck where your commander will likely be attacking alone. But it costs 4 mana and doesn't really do enough in Commander, I think. Not really sure if what deck this goes in, but it's very niche but worth looking at. The Gaffer, 2 and a white for a legendary creature, Halfling Peasant. It's a 2/3. At the beginning of each end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, draw a card. Love that. I hear the knock on door says, "Open up, he's free potato man." But he's not free potato man, he's secret police. This guy shot up to $7. Plays nicely with food tokens. If your deck theme is life gain, dude, then the Gaffer deserves a spot, brother. I snagged 2 of these for under $3 just on principle. Shot right up there, man. I think this is a really good card in a lot of decks. What is this, dude? We got the Doctor Who's coming out there. 4 knocks, 2 and a white for an enchantment with Vanishing 4. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, draw a card. This is interesting to me. It's white's take on Phyrexian Arena. I don't know the flavor, dude. I guess this guy is tapping his grandpa for some money to buy some tweed, brother. I think if you draw 3 cards off of this thing over 4 turns, it's okay, man. I don't know. People do play Phyrexian Arena and effects like that. Modern Commander games don't go 10 turns anymore, really, most of the time. It's an option, you know, it's generically okay. I like old men being featured in Magic art, dude. They're an underrepresented demographic that the Gaffer and this guy are just beefing up. I like it. What is this guy doing, man? He's a little too celebratory for me. The Archivist of Ogma, 1 and a white for a creature Halfling Cleric, 2/2 with Flash. Whenever an opponent searches their library, you gain 1 life and draw a card. This guy reminds me of Willow, brother, which was a movie with Val Kilmer and a little Archivist of Ogma all the way back in 1988. This guy's fantastic. He's cheap, he draws cards. This isn't under the radar, I guess, man. It's like $7 right now. The Ox Drover, 3 and a white for a creature human peasant. It's a 4/4 with vigilance. This guy can't be blocked by oxen. You know he can't, dude, because he's droving them. Whenever he enters the battlefield or attacks, target opponent creates a 2/4 white ox creature token and you draw a card. This is a very difficult card to evaluate. When I see cards like this, I try to frame them differently to see if they're worth a damn. 4/4 with vigilance for 4. Alright, you know, it's very vanilla, but ETBs and draws a card, gives your opponents a little guy. So next turn, what deck wants to attack with this? and give your opponent another token and draw a card. I don't know, man. It can attack and then it has vigilance, so it can sit back and block too, I guess, man. You can use it politically. It's kind of a fun casual card, but it'll draw you cards, man. What do you guys think about old Lady Gaga out here? 3 white for a creature fairy noble. It's a 4/5 with flying. Has celebration, of course it does. At the beginning of your end step, if 2 or more non-land permanents enter the battlefield under your control this turn, draw a card. So this is a 4/5 flyer for 5. Not terrible. But in a token deck or a blink deck, man, this is gas, I think. It's a little pricey at 5 mana though. You need a little extra synergy there, like flying creatures or fairies or something. She doesn't look like she's laughing though at all, dude. I don't know, man, it doesn't look very funny to me. Oh man, here we go, the beefy Battle Angels of Tyr, dude. 2 white for a creature Angel Knight. It's a 4/4 with flying and myriad. Whenever Battle Angels of Tyr deals combat damage to a player, draw a card if that player has more cards in hand than each other player. Then you create a treasure token if that player controls more lands than each other player. Then you gain 3 life if that player has more life than each other player. Well, this is 20 bucks, so I think people are enjoying the effect, you know. This does so much, has decent stat line, combat ability for 4 mana. Very efficient card that depicts angel dudes, which is probably what you want to be, man. If you want to be a dude, you want to be an angel dude. Alright, man, this is going back a little bit, but we got the Welcoming Vampire. 2 white for a creature vampire. It's a 2/3 with flying. Whenever 1 or more other creatures with power 2 or less enter the battlefield under your control, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. Ah man, 1 or more and only once each turn. Where this is really good is in Edgar Markov's decks, Blink decks, and Myriad decks, man. I like that it has flying though, too. The heck is this big guy doing out there? The Discerning Financier. 2 white for a creature, human noble. It's a 2/3. At the beginning of your upkeep, if an opponent controls more lands than you, create a treasure token. Also has 2 white, choose another player. That player gains control of target treasure you control, and you draw a card. Just forget that second ability though. It's there, I mean it's gravy, but this is pretty reliable token generation and ramp for your weenie decks, dude. This is super niche, but kind of nice for an uncommon, man. I like this card. Fresh out of New Capenna with a fresh haircut, we got the Sanctuary Warden. 4 white for a creature Angel Soldier. It's a 5/5 with flying. When it enters the battlefield, you got 2 shield counters you put right on there, buddy. Whenever Sanctuary Warden enters the battlefield or attacks, you may remove a counter from a creature or planeswalker you control. If you do, draw a card and create a 1/1 green and white citizen creature token. I've used this to great effects in Myriad decks and Blink decks, dude. Just by itself, it's entering and drawing a card and get rid of one of those shield counters. In a counters deck, this is also pretty bonkers good. It's a little more niche, but can be easily abused. Oh my god, look at these cute little guys. You got the Rumor Gatherer out there, 1 white for a creature elf wizard. It's a 2/1 with Alliance. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1. If this is the second time this ability has resolved this turn, draw a card instead. This goes great in your token decks, dude. Anytime you make 2 tokens, scry 1 and draw a card, brother. She's got a tiny messenger elephant, and that's beautiful, man. Mangara the Diplomat. I like this card because it actually pictures this guy doing diplomacy, signing some treaties, man. 3 white for a legendary creature, human cleric. It's a 2/4 with lifelink. Whenever an opponent attacks with creatures, if 2 or more of those creatures are attacking you or planeswalkers you control, draw a card. Whenever an opponent casts their second spell each turn, draw a card. This is from Core Set 2021 and appears to have made quite a splash back then. This guy just sits there and draws cards. The lifelink is very relevant. It's an effective card as evidenced by the fact that it was $12 prior to the reprint in Commander Masters. Now it's bulk price, buddy. Oh my god, it's this guy, dude. The Alms Collector is 3 white for a creature cat cleric. It's a 3/4 with flash. If an opponent would draw 2 or more cards, instead you and that player each draw a card, man. There is no justice when some profit and others go without, dude. This guy's an anthropomorphized cheetah that's kind of espousing socialism, dude. That's a politically charged cat in the field, brother. And that's better commander, dude. This has interesting implications. Basically shuts down wheels. If someone casts a windfall with this out, everybody but you discards and draws 1 card, while you wheel and then draw 3 extra cards. This is a huge monkey wrench and an interesting card that was $9 a year ago, man. It's 50 cents now, brother. Benny Brax, dude, I don't have to tell you how good this guy is. 3 white for a legendary creature, Elf Druid. It's a 3/2 with Convoke. At the beginning of each end step, if you created a token this turn, draw a card. Oh my god, this guy is 20 bucks. Yep, white has some pretty good draw now. It's the end of the video, man. You got Benny Brax out there. Pretty wild that this is so pricey, though. Good card. Alright, man, this is a good one. Reprieve. 1 white for an instant. Return target spell to its owner's hand. Draw a card. This is a color-shifted Remand that's pretty unique in white. It's basically a counter spell that replaces itself, but the card goes back to the opponent's hand, so you aren't rid of it permanently. No one really sees this coming from the white player, though. This is a very slept-on card. Cut a deal. 2 and a white for a sorcery. Each opponent draws a card, then you draw a card for each opponent who drew a card this way. This is a pretty charged card in my play group. We had a lot of discussion on this thing, man. You're drawing 3 cards, but each opponent is benefiting. It's neutral. It's not really card advantage, but I think people are kind of overthinking it, you know? It's 3 cards for 3 mana, dude. Who cares? You got Jason Momoa back there. He's approving the deal, brother. Smuggler Share. It's 2 and a white for an enchantment. At the beginning of each end step, draw a card for each opponent who drew 2 or more cards this turn. Then create a treasure token for each opponent who had 2 or more lands enter the battlefield under their control this turn. You got Rocket Raccoon and his cousins out there. They're just stealing some liquor, and that's not the thing you want to do. I like this thing. It's about $6 right now. I don't think I would buy it at that price, but if I opened it in a pack, I would for sure slot it up in an enchantment deck, dude. Everybody at the table wants to set up a card advantage engine, and you can take advantage of their stuff. Look at this guy, the old master of ceremonies, dude. 3 and a white for a creature, Rhino Druid. It's a 3/4. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent chooses money, friends, or secrets. Basically, I mean, listen, man. They're either going to make a treasure token, you make a treasure token. They get a little guy, you get a little guy. Or they draw a card and you draw a card. I like how this guy has his pinky out. He's toasting the ladies in the room. He's drinking scissor and drawing cards, dude. I like this guy as a fun commander card. This guy's extorting people in the air. 3 white for a creature, Bird Soldier. It's a 4/3 with flying. Whenever this guy enters the battlefield or deals combat damage to a player, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent. For as long as that card remains exiled, its owner may cast it. Whenever a player casts a spell from anywhere other than their hand, draw a card. You know what's rampant in Commander right now? Commanders, who are cast from the command zone, brother. It's not your hand. This is also temporary removal, which is like, you know, okay, but it's annoying for your opponents to have to cast that huge dragon they just cheated in, or they're smothering tithe or some other value piece. Wedding Ring. This is how you can marry your bros. 2 white for an artifact. When it enters the battlefield, if it was cast, target opponent creates a token that's a copy of it. Whenever an opponent who controls an artifact named Wedding Ring draws a card during their turn, you draw a card. Whenever an opponent who controls an artifact named Wedding Ring gains life during their turn, you gain that much life. Just marry your blue player friend, dude. That's advice for Commander game, and it's advice for life too. If you ever meet the Blue Man group, propose right on the spot, brother. Give them a wedding ring. They'll take care of you with their tender percussion, brother. So we endeavored to answer the question, is white okay now? And I think it is. On that note, I'm going to end this stupid video. I've got to take 11 naps a day because I'm sick as a damn dog, brother. But in closing, I'll say that I think white as a color is in pretty good shape right now. You've got quite a few different options for card advantage, some generically good cards that are pretty broad. So what do you guys think? Do we need more at this point? This is just the past 2 years worth of decent white draw interaction and some treasure ramp thrown in. Let me know in the comments, dude. This is Nicky G from Better Commander signing off.